going to attempt to build the Race the World First kill group for Razsageth. Now, originally I thought there'd be a lot of melee because melee are really strong right now, but now after reading all those abilities, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. Okay, so I think that tank mechanic at the end might be kind of relevant. And I also think that Prot Warrior, I think Prot Warrior is just going to be on every kill. Even after so many nerfs, they're just so ridiculous. Not only that, they bring the rallying cry and battle shout that I'm speculating that will not be brought because apparently right now warriors are rated as dog doo-doo. So that's, I think, the guaranteed tank. I think Prot Warrior is going to be on every kill, every boss, unless there's just some real special cheese thing that monks can do with teleporting or some crap like that, right? The second tank I'm less sure about. That Razsageth ability, it doesn't seem like bears would be good at that. But it does seem like Vengeance would be good at it. That being said, I do think that Havoc right now is Omega good. I'm going to go with the Blood. I think Blood would be really good at that mechanic, as long as it's not too often. I don't know what the cooldown on AMS is. What is it? Anti-magic shell. Wow. Let's see, what's the cooldown on anti-magic shell? 45 seconds. Okay, yeah. There's no way that one tank has to eat that more than every 45 seconds. So I think Blood and Prot Warrior. I think that it's even possible that you might double Blood it if AMS is really that good, but I'm not entirely convinced that that mechanic is that deadly. And I think that Prot Warrior with Spell Reflect plus Shield Wall might just be absolutely ridiculous for it. And you want Battle Shout plus Rallying, right? And you're probably not going to have these guys. So, okay. So we're going to go with the healers now. So I'm going to go ahead and go with a safe one here. We're going to have a Holy Paladin because Holy Paladin. I also think we're going to have a Disc Priest because Disc Priest. And you want Fort somehow. I have no idea how good Shadow is going to be on Razsageth. Let me think about that for a second. They would be terrible at this. I mean, Evoker is going to be... Dude, Evoker is going to be Omega if this is an important mechanic, right? Because they do a ton of damage when things are at full health. Evoker might just be like God tier for this. Although, if they're really spread out, the Boomkin might be God tier for this. I don't really know. What else do we have? We have... That's like the only... That's like the only add thing on this, isn't it? This Storm Surge thing, this kind of lends itself, depending on how often this happens, to classes with really long cooldowns, which kind of says that... Now, Boomkin don't have as powerful as a cooldown as they used to, but it is still a 3-minute cooldown. So they might be exceptionally good at this. Who else has a long cooldown? Oh yeah, Assassination Rogue might be Omega here, because Exsanguinate is 3-minute cooldown now. And if you only have to do this like 2 or 3 times in the fight, they could hard carry this, right? With this buff plus Exsanguinate. But it might not be worth it, right? That mechanic might not be hard enough for you to stack classes. That being said, though, I think there's going to be at least one Assassination Rogue. It doesn't seem like there's very many ads, which is makes them a little better. And the execute phase might be very important. And I think that Exsanguinate might hard carry. I'm gonna go ahead and guess 2 of them. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Exsanguinate is gonna be good enough on that shield where they just hard carry that. I also think there's just gonna be a Havoc because you need that debuff, and Havoc's kind of Giga right now, right? Now, is there gonna be an enhancement? Well, okay, so you're probably gonna have, and oh yeah, so and are you gonna 5 heal? Because if you're gonna 5 heal, the 5th healer might be a Mistweaver. And if that's the case, then you probably won't have a Windwalker, right? I think there's going to be a Preservation Evoker, because they're the new hotness. And I think the baseline throughput healer is going to be Resto Druid. And the main reason for that, not only because they're really good right now, but I think that people were saying that Discipline kind of needs Innervate right now for their massive burst cycles. So you get one here. I think that you're going to kind of stack ranged on this fight. It's possible. It's possible that on those ads, Frost Mage is really, really good. So it says something about those ads. Where are those ads? Boop, 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 boop. Here we are. So the Storm Fiends teleport. They leave behind tiny ads who will rush towards it if they reach it. At some time, they become immune to CCs. But that doesn't say anything about slows. I don't know if they... I think that this might add a lot of value to a Frost Mage if that mechanic is like a mechanic that you're concerned about at all. And then I think that Demo is still going to be very strong. I think you'll have maybe at least one Devastation Evoker. If they can get their Eternity Surge on these ads, they would be real. Oh, and they also have that spell for the shield. I forgot about that till just now. So, yeah, I'm going to throw one of those in there. I still don't think there's going to be more than one, because I feel like there's a lot of mechanics where their 25-yard range could really totally screw them over. Now, here's the hard part. Are we going to have 5 healers on Razsageth? It certainly doesn't sound like it, right? The only way I see there being 5 heal on Razsageth is either if this is something that happens constantly and you need a ton of throughput to survive, kind of like Lords of Dread or Rygolon style, right? I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be a 5 heal. I think it's going to be a 4 heal, which means I'm going to go with a Windwalker for that buff, for the Mystic Touch. I don't know. Does enhancement provide enough value to these melee to be brought? And can they... I don't know. I think there's going to be 2 balanced druids, though. Not because, like, they do exceptional damage or anything, but, like, they have so much utility, and then going back to the whole innervate thing. It sounds like healers are going to need innervates. And it might be also that their spread cleave is just so valuable on, like, every fight with all these ads. It might be. Okay. I don't think this will happen, but I'm gonna put it in there. Because I want it to happen. I want enhancement to be good, because it's kind of my favorite. So we have 3 slots left. I really think this fight is LOL melee. I don't think there's going to be any more melee. I just don't think so. I don't think there's going to be any BM Hunter. I think the only fight where BM Hunter might be a thing is for bitch duty on Diurna. I think that's the one fight you might see BM Hunter. So what ranged now are they going to stack? Man, I don't know. I don't know. Do I hedge? Dude, I'm going to put 3 of these in here because I'm feeling crazy. I'm going to put a mage in there. Will this be... Will this ad thing be impactful enough? Where did they go? Will this be impactful enough? You know what? Honestly, Unholy with their... You know what? I'm going to throw it in there. I think they might use an Unholy just to burst those ads, plus the fact that they have good execute at the same time. All right. Here's my race to world first comp for the kill on Razsageth. I feel like I'm missing something important, but I'm going to go with this. This tier list here is me guessing how many boss kills per spec for each race of the world first kill. Only first kill. So, we're going to start with what I would think maybe the easiest guesses are of things that will be in for every kill. So Holy Paladin I think is the winner. I think Discipline Priest is the winner. And I think Prot Warrior is the winner. Up. Right? Let's switch this to dark mode. No, just kidding. That's terrible. Okay. I think those will be in every. And I also think... let's see. Is there anybody else that I think will be in every kill? Demo is kind of tempting. Yeah, I'm gonna say there's gonna be a demo lock in every kill. I think they're that good. I think there's gonna be a Havoc Demon Hunter in every kill. I would put Rogue up here, except for the fact that I think Assassination is gonna be used on at least 2 bosses instead of Outlaw. That being Razsageth and then whatever the name of that dude is that's pure single target. I think there'll be Assassination for that kill. Alright. So, with that being said, I think that Outlaw will be in 6 to 7 kills. I think they'll be in 6. I think that Assassination will be in 2 to 3. Let's see. Guardian Druid. Is there a tank fight where Guardian Druid... I think... So for the second tank, I think that Blood Death Knight's going to be in 6 to 7. What bosses would you replace the Blood Death Knight and what for? What tank will get my... So Brewmaster is kind of a liability right now, but they do have like 8 gazillion cooldowns, right? Guardian Druid. It's possible that Guardian Druid is really good at tanking the ads on Broodkeeper. They seem like they have really, really high... You know, and Brewmaster might also be really good for that, but they might get their face punched in, so maybe not. And what's our last tank option? We have Vengeance. You know what? That's what I'm going to do. I think that Vengeance might be used for Broodkeeper Diurna. I think they might be the best tank because they're very mobile and they're good at self-sustaining, so they're not going to have people babysitting them, which is going to be probably really important in that fight because it seems like the raid damage is kind of ridiculous on that fight. So we'll guess that. We're going to say that Vengeance is going to be on 1 and Blood will be on the other 7, and I think Prot Warrior is going to be on all 8 as just a staple because the other warriors are bad and Prot Warrior is amazing. Okay, so for mages. There may be a fight where Arcane Crazy Burst is used. I think that might happen. And then for the other fights, I think you're going to have Frost. And it looks like Fire is kind of doo-doo right now. This might be wrong, right? This might be backwards. I might be assuming the wrong thing about Frost, but only time will tell. So I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to go this way, even though it... Man, my instincts are telling me to swap these, but I'm just going to do this because I like Frost better, even though I think it's wrong. Destro Lock. It is conceivable that Destro Lock is exceptionally good on that one boss that has 2 adds up most of the time. That is conceivable. I actually think that's going to happen, so I'm going to put this in 1, because I think they're going to be on that 1, and then I'm going to move Demo to 6 to 7, because of that. Okay, Boomkin. Will they be on every fight? Is the Innervate that important? Oh, that's another thing I can put on 8, I think. My throughput healer. I think they'll be on every kill. Where's my last healer? Preservation Evoker? I think that Preservation Evoker is really good, especially on stacked healing, but I also think that there's probably going to be... We don't have Preservation Evoker on this, do we? We don't have Evokers on this list. Oy. Okay, I'm going to have to stencil them in afterwards. I'm going to stencil in the Evoker. I think the Preservation Evoker is going to be on 6 to 7, but I think you're going to replace them with perhaps a Mistweaver or a Holy Priest for the fights where their range and way of healing becomes a liability. Let's see, Prot Paladin. I don't think you're going to see Prot Paladins. I don't think you're going to see a Frost Death Knight. I don't think you're going to see a Brewmaster. I don't think you're going to see Fury and Arms. I don't think you're going to see Affliction. I don't think you're going to see Sub. Windwalker. I'm going to give the Windwalker the 6 to 7 because I'm going to give the Mistweaver the 1. I think that's going to happen on one fight, where they flip-flop this for the Mystic Touch buff, and this guy kind of loses its viability because it's better to just bring another Havoc once you already have the buff from this. I think Boomkin's going to be on 6 to 7. I think there might be one fight where they just don't use them. Like maybe that single target guy. But maybe they need to be in every fight. They might be in 8, because the Innervates might just be that important, from what I've heard about healer mana. It sounds like healer mana is kind of a big problem right now. Let's see. 0, 1. Enhancement. This is a difficult one. But because melee are so good right now, I'm going to go crazy and say they'll have an enhancement on every fight. Because melee are so powerful right now, you need to really be incentivized, I think, to not bring an enhancement when you're really incentivized to bring all the melee, right? So I'm going to go out and say that. It's probably going to be wrong, but let's see, Holy Priest. I think for throughput healer, I think you'd rather just bring a Mistweaver. I don't think you're going to bring a Holy Priest. No MM. No Resto Shaman. Elemental. BM. Okay, I think BM's going to have one fight. I think you might bring a BM for Diurna, because I have a feeling that they might just be like God tier at bitch duty on staff thing. If they can stay alive. If they can stay alive. Otherwise, you might just have to use... Maybe just use demo locks, even though it'll nuke their damage, just because they're so tanky. Their tankiness has been nerfed a little bit, but it also seems like having lots of gateways on Diurna is probably going to be pretty banging, even with a Vengeance, right? I think for just everybody in general, having gateways is going to be really good on that fight. So let's see, Guardian. I don't think we're going to see any Guardian. Elemental could actually be really, really, really powerful sustained AoE for Diurna. I'm going to go crazy and say that you might bring an Elemental Shaman fight. They might just flop over, though, huh? Never mind. Never mind, they're just going to die on that fight. BM's enough of a liability. Shadow might be good on that fight. The ads spawn every 30 seconds. Oh my god, yeah, Shadow's probably going to be banging on Diurna. You can Shadow Crash every 30 seconds, so every time the group spawns, they're going to be ready to blast with AoE. Well, you might bring multiple Shadow Priests on that fight. Okay, Rhett might blast on the council fight. Rhett might blast on the council fight. I'm going to give him one fight. I mean, never mind, there's Havoc. You just bring another Havoc, right? Why would you bring a Paladin? I'm kidding. You just bring another Havoc instead of a Rhett, right? And then the same goes for Druid, because I think you're going to have Boomkins. Even though Cats now are really good, I think that they're just not going to be in anything. Alright, here's my tier list for how many first kills each spec will be in for Season 1 of Dragonflight. Okay, now this one, I'm going to do two different comps here. And they're singular groups. This is Mythic Plus stuff. I'm going to try and guess the two configurations that I think are most likely to be meta in Mythic Plus. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start with the easy one and say Prot Warrior is probably going to be the tank for one of them. Now, this is going to be for like a melee group, right? Which means you're probably going to have an Outlaw Rogue with it, right? Other than that, now this is where it starts getting hard. So the two healers that I'm suspecting are the meta are these two, right? The big difference is that this one provides Mark of the Wild and Innervate. I guess that doesn't really matter. Mark of the Wild and B-Res. While this one provides Lust, which for 5-mans is quite valuable. Now, if you were to have a caster group, which I suspect will happen, you have a Vengeance, but then you have a Mage, and that's your Lust, which means that Resto Druid would be a lot better at that point, right? Because then they would be providing Mark, and the Lust would already be here. And if this is a melee group, Preservation of Ochre does way, way, way better with stacked groups. Resto Druid barely needs it. It helps, but they barely need it compared to Preservation, right? So we're going to do, this is the magic ranged group. Although, you know what? It could be that you have a Blood Death Knight, and then you just have a Havoc Demon Hunter in the ranged group. That way you have a melee interrupt. That actually sounds pretty baller. I think I'm going to go with that. I like that. Now, who are the other ranged? Probably a Demo Lock, right? Because LOL Demo. Warlocks don't die. And they're really good at doing single target and AoE at the same time. Okay, so this is my guess for a meta, like, kind of ranged focus, but it has one melee as Havoc, so that it can provide the magic buff to these guys. And then the Lust is the Frost Death Knight. Okay, I like it. Now, this one seems harder. So we already have Lust and Preservation, Outlaw and Protection. So you probably have a Windwalker, right? Because that gives you the Mystic Touch, and their AoE, burst AoE is kind of ridiculous. So now, who's the last thing? I want it to be Enhancement, but I don't think it will be. Because Enhancement, like, you already have Lust, which is one of the big things that they bring. And they don't really want to spec Wind Fury Totem in Mythic Plus, so I really don't think it's going to be Enhancement. Honestly, it could be two rogues. Maybe Rhett's AoE damage is that strong. Maybe Feral Druid. This is actually possible. I've seen their AoE damage being pretty freaking banging. And you get Mark of the Wild that way. and you have a B-res. Yeah, this looks good actually. This looks pretty strong. So we get rid of Vengeance. I think this is it. This is my guess for the two comps that are just kind of like meta for Mythic Plus. All right, here we go. What do I predict the community perception will be for specs in Season 1? All right, BM Hunter. That seems good. They're not too bad, right? Like, they're mobile. Their lack of defensiveness is a bit less of an issue in Mythic Plus overall, I would say, just because like the fact that they can move around like an idiot and jump up and down is actually a good bit of survivability. But I don't think they're going to be considered meta. What is this, Vengeance? I think it's going to be one of the meta tanks. Arcane Mage. It's kind of always like a meme spec, right? It's pretty much one mage, right? All the mages are probably going to be here, except for the third one that's actually the meta one, right? Blood Death Knight. Now, there's a lot of tanks right now that are pretty strong. But I don't think these are going to be meta. I think these guys are just going to be good. I think if the healer forms the group, they're more likely to pick a Blood Death Knight because they'll be like, hey, I'll probably never have to heal this guy. That's winning. All right, so Holy Paladin. Community perception. I think they'll be good. I think they'll be perceived as good. They seem pretty solid right now. The fact that they're always in raids and they have Devo Aura and stuff, people tend to like them. Resto Druid, I think, is going to be meta. Disc. I would say not good. I almost want to put them immediate decline, but I think that people are okay with them generally, and they might be used in like certain pre-made setups because like when your group is pre-made, they're a lot better. All right, Prot Warrior I think is going to be Omega at the meta. They're ridiculous right now still. I'm really glad that I picked this as my tank character to play. It feels broken. I think there was only one boss where my HP ever actually even moved, and that was that guy at the end of Azure Vaults that I was trying to break the things and I got slowed and I had to basically sit for 10 seconds inside those orbs that spawned. It wasn't great. Havoc, meta. Easy meta. Destro. I think demo is going to be better. So, Warlock's enhancement. I think enhancement is actually going to be in the good tier. I don't think they're going to be meta because I don't think they have quite as much utility, especially because they don't even really want to take Wind Fury, but they do bring Lust. And bringing Lust is nice, especially when Hunter is overall considered dog shit. That makes Shaman feel better. Although I think Evokers are going to be good and meta also. So that's a strike against enhancement. Perhaps if there was no Lust for Evokers and Preservation, or Evoke Devastation and Preservation, this might be almost considered meta because their damage profile for Mythic Plus is quite good right now, and they bring Lust. And it's possible that the like Shaman, Shadow Priest, and Boomkin like off-healing abilities might be amazing. Because the group damage right now is kind of ridiculous. So I'm going to leave them in good. Demo. I think Demo is meta. I think Demo is the premier ranged right now. Also, if you've never played Demo, it is so fun right now. I was very tempted to hard swap to Warlock. I might have if our raid didn't have no rogue. Prot Paladin. Prot Paladin's weird, right? Because they kind of get their faces kicked in unless they're really good players. But the thing is that there's like, I'm going to put them in good. There's like 1 million interrupts right now. In like every dungeon, at least the newer ones. The older dungeons, Prot Paladin really loses a lot of value. But in the newer dungeons, Prot Paladin might be the best tank. There's so, like the beginning of Algathar, there's so much crap to interrupt. Maybe it just won't matter, right? Maybe like things like Prot and Vengeance do so much damage and heal themselves for so much, the fact that you lose all these interrupts is just going to be irrelevant. Right? That might be it. Windwalker. I think they're going to be perceived as meta still. Even if they're not as good as they used to be, I think that there's going to be like a carryover, and the fact that Windwalker is just always good at burst AoE, right? That's just their thing. It's been the perception of them for so long that I think it's going to stay that way. Okay, I think Mistweaver is going to be not good perception. I think they are going to be like good effectively, but I think the perception is going to be not good because they have the reverse stigma of Windwalker, right? Unholy. I think they're going to be perceived as good. I think as soon as somebody's in a group with an Unholy in a mega pull dungeon or something and they see them bursting to 400k DPS or whatever nonsense they do, they're going to be like, oh wow, Unholy's kind of ridiculous. Yep. Boomkin. I think they're going to be, I think their stigma of Season 3 is going to carry over, and I think it's warranted right now. I don't think they're good. I think they're back to like not a great profile, but for like different reasons. Before it was because like you just couldn't spend all your resources on AoE, so you couldn't like sustain mass AoE. But now you can do that, except you have like such a big ramp time that it makes you look like shit. It's possible that on longer fortified, Boomkin becomes quite powerful. But we'll see. I think that they're still going to be like people don't like them. Shadow. This is a hard one. I think Shadow is quite good right now. But it's still kind of like one of those things where people just don't like it. Because it's got the stigma of not being good. And, of course, the Shadow Priest community are pretty doomer. Some of their dooming is pretty warranted, but some of it is just because they're so used to dooming that they just keep dooming. I think once they fixed their spec tree like the second time, the spec looked pretty good. I am still a little confused about Mind Flay versus Mind Spike, but I like the fact that they have that default cleave of Mind Blast and the 30-second Shadow Crash thing. That ability is banging. Outlaw is going to be meta. Cats. I think cats are going to be good. I think people will even perceive them as good. Most of the videos I've seen about content creators talking about cats, they're like, cats are banging now. They can actually do AoE. And if you watch any Tettles videos of him playing cat in AoE, he's doing good. I think Red is in a similar spot with cat. However, they don't bring Mark of the Wild. They don't bring combat res. RIP. They're like a cat without combat res and Mark of the Wild. I would invite a cat over a ret. For sure. I don't know why you'd want a ret. Is there a dungeon with 1,000,000 bleeds and you need bops? That's the only reason I could think to want a paladin. Elemental. It's the same thing. Their sustained AoE is quite good. But from what I've heard from several reliable sources, they flop over and die. They die a lot. Now, the Frost Mage thing, I don't think they're going to be quite meta, but the fact that they perma-slow, is almost always relevant in Season 1, and I think people know. And it's Lust, and it's AI, so, and healers get free food and drink, so that's kind of cool. Let's see, Guardian. I think Guardian is going to be good, not meta. I think it's going to be perceived as quite good. All of these tanks, I wouldn't care. Any of these 4 tanks in my group. I've healed all the tanks while leveling and doing M0 World Tour on the Resto Druid, and any of these 4 are fine. Healing this one felt pretty rough, but he might have just been a dog shit tank. I don't really know. And then healing Brewmaster is not great. Yeah, let's go ahead and put this. They get smashed. They do a lot of damage for tanks. Probably, maybe a little more than Prot Warrior, or comparable at least. Probably more AoE, less single target, because Prot Warrior does still execute in single target, which is pretty strong. But I think everybody's going to think they're terrible. As a healer, I wouldn't want to heal one. I don't want your extra 5k DPS. I want you to not die. That's just my opinion, so we'll see. Resto Shaman, they need help. I don't know what the deal with Resto Shaman is. They buffed their healing rain AoE, but I don't really know what that does to them. I'm probably not even going to try playing one. If I leveled it, I would play it as enhancement, because I like enhancement. Marksman, apparently they're still terrible, even after buffs. I don't think anybody's going to want this. Right, so rogues are rogues, right? They're basically just always at least a little good. Oh, let's go ahead and put this guy there too. But the problem is that their profile just isn't as good as outlaw, right? It's possible that sub is higher. But with these triple DPS spec things, it tends to be that whatever one is just marginally better overall, perception-wise is infinitely better, right? If you're not the best, you're the worst, right? Holy Priest, I think they're going to... Actually, wait. Maybe not. I think maybe they'll be good in community perception. I think that because the way the Holy Priest heals is very straightforward and hard to screw up, that you're less likely to have a terrible pug experience with a Holy Priest, like as opposed to Disc. You're much more likely to have a bad experience with a Disc. And maybe it's not even his fault. Maybe it's just because your group is taking way too much damage and he can't deal with it. But Holy Priest is like the best noob healer, I think. So I think it'll have a good perception. Fire Mage. On one hand, because fire is almost always good, I want to put it with Frost. But I still think it runs into that perception problem of the triple DPS thing, right? Where like the best one is really good and the other ones are trash. I think I'm just going to go with that. I think that's just what's going to be, right? I think people are going to be like, if they're not the best mage, then they're not a mage I want. Frost. I think just not good. I don't think they're bad enough. But the whole breath thing, they're just their profile is too wacky, right? Like if you could chain pull somehow and play around them, then they could be really good. But like it's so much more work. Just be unholy instead, right? Arms. Everybody said that Arms is not as good as Fury, which means it's probably just going to be a pile. And I think Fury is going to go here, but I think it's going to be at the top, but they're not good. Where it's kind of borderline. Their burst AoE, from what I saw, could be pretty insane. But if you want burst AoE like that, why don't you just bring Havoc instead, right? Or Windwalker? Dog shit. Dog shit. Alright. This is my prediction for community perception of classes in Mythic Plus for Season 1.